audio. I have recently been reading John D. MacDonald's Travis McGee series. It was recommended to me by Bridger from the Library Ladder. I also happen to know that one of Glen Cook's favorite writers is John D. MacDonald, so I knew I had to read them. And so I started The Deep Blue Goodbye, and I immediately fell in love with John D. MacDonald's writing. And so I read Nightmare in Pink, the next book in the series, and I immediately read A Purple Place for Dying, the next book in the series. And recently I finished book 4, The Quick Red Fox. And as I've gone through these, it is like being able to see the code in the Matrix. I can see where Glen Cook got a lot of his influence. And what this video is about is me telling you to go find your favorite author's favorite author. It will change the way you look at their writing. You will see these little tidbits they get from them. It would be like a painter mentoring another painter, and you look at this younger painter and you can see the color choices they use are a lot like their mentors and their, depth to their paintings, or you see these little things like, oh, this brush stroke or this way they use contrast in this way, and you can tell that they were mentored by the other person, but it's not the same. Like, they have their own style. And that is what I'm seeing with John D. MacDonald and Glen Cook, and it has increased my enjoyment of both writers. I just want to talk a little while about kind of what they share in common and where I see John D. MacDonald in Glen Cook. All of this is just me telling you, go out there and find your favorite writer's favorite writer. It's so rewarding, and let's just talk about it for a little while. It's probably going to be a short video. John D. MacDonald has this very sharp, direct prose and very morally complex characters. And oh, look, guess what? That's Glen Cook. Glen Cook has those same gut punch writing. And then as you kind of dig deeper into John D. MacDonald's writing, you see that he has this beautiful descriptive prose for his setting and his characters. And Travis McGee as a character is very cynical, just like almost every character in Glen Cook's writing, but he also has this emotional depth and this development and this introspection. And he's always kind of sharing his view of this world that just kind of sucks, and you do what you can to get through it. That sounds a lot like what the members of the Black Company are doing. The world kind of sucks, and you do what you can to survive. It's a lot more bleak in the Black Company, but they're branches off the same tree. Then when it comes to this descriptive prose, you'll get that in the Black Company sometimes. In that series, he'll come out of nowhere and just slap you in the face with this description of somewhere or someone, and you're just blown away. And he does that even more in the Dread Empire series, which he wrote before the Black Company. So I think that was closer to his time of just binging everything John D. MacDonald wrote. Same thing with these introspective emotional characters. The Dread Empire just has them in spades. And Braggy, the main character of most of the series, he has these same moments that you see with Travis McGee, where he's just philosophizing about life and love and loss. You don't see that in everything Cook does, but man, you see it in the Dread Empire. Then if you expand out to the easy low-hanging fruit that is the Garrett P.I. series, who is a hard-boiled detective like Travis McGee, it's all there. It's not all there in a I copied you one for one kind of way, because you see influence from Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett too in the Garrett P.I. stuff. And then there's a lot of humor in Garrett P.I. that you don't get in Travis McGee books. But he's got that same introspection, just at a slower pace. There's a lot of introspection in Travis McGee books, but over the 11 Garrett P.I. novels now that I've read, it's few and far between, but it still has that same kind of impact. And when we're talking about impact, loss and violence and just these different tragedies, they both have this same style to them. It'll be something like Travis McGee showing up and finding this emotionally distraught woman who has been abused for months, and he starts to kind of take care of her and realizes the trauma she went through. You see the same thing in some of Glen Cook's writing, where the main character of one of his books stumbles into an event like that. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. They just feel very similar, but very different at the same time. And when it comes to the Black Company, which a lot more people have read than other stuff from Glen Cook, you see a lot more of it later on in the series with different analysts. And just the further into those books, the more you see Glen Cook's influences. I think the easiest way to describe that is the stronger Glen Cook's individual style became, the easier it was to see where that started from. It's like setting something at the wrong angle, and the further it gets away from its original point, the more inaccurate it is. It's like the inverse of that. Like the farther Glen Cook gets away from his starting influences, the stronger they have become in his own style. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm jabbering, but anyways, I just couldn't believe it. I loved reading John D. MacDonald. It felt like coming home in a way I did not expect. I think that, one of the things they don't share alike is John D. MacDonald's sentence structure. It's just, they're long sentences with a very keen eye for detail in a way you don't see from Cook. Like Cook's style is he leaves a lot to the imagination in a way that adds like this layer of mystery to his worlds. And I really, really like that. But I also like the overly descriptive. But I have seen Glen Cook do the overly descriptive. In The Tower of Fear, which isn't my favorite book from Glen Cook, it has a lot of that. It reads a lot more like a pulpy descriptive style than it does a hard-boiled detective style. But I mean, how far off are those really? It's just a couple degrees. But it's that same flowing descriptive sentences of a place or a person. And I think it's really cool that it doesn't matter where you look into Glen Cook's writing, you see these little pieces of John D. MacDonald, which, that's the same for just about everyone. You can take an author and then another author and be like, oh, look, see, they kind of got these little similar things. Without asking directly, you're never going to know for sure that one directly influenced the other. But in this case, we know that Glen Cook owns every John D. MacDonald book he's ever written. It was in an interview I read recently, including rare ones. That's his words. And so there's no way that a guy that owns hundreds of books from a single author and has been reading them since the 1960s couldn't have taken a lot of influence from those books. So like I said a minute ago, I think I'm rambling at this point. I don't know what this video was about beyond me just wanting to talk about my love of both of them and the similarities they share and why you need to go out there and find your favorite author's favorite author. Let me know who your favorite author is and who you think their favorite author is in the comments and whether or not you've read them together. I think I'm done now. Thanks for watching. And with that, I'll see you next time.